In this world, there are two things you absolutely cannot stare directly at: the midday sun, and the moral bankruptcy of scumbags mixed with the sheer shamelessness of green tea girls. My name is Chu Dan, 26 years old, in the absolute prime of my youth, and voluntarily single. Currently, I am the proud owner of a relationship appraisal office tucked deep inside a tiny alley. Outside the glass door, I hung a brightly flashing neon sign, listening to faint confessions, taking the pulse of love, eradicating toxic weeds. It might sound like I'm a fake psychological consultant scamming aunties out of their retirement funds, but in reality, my main job is getting paid to take out the trash. The trash here refers to toxic relationships, whiny sworn sisters, and so-called good bros running on a White Lotus operating system. My assistant is Jongyu, 23 years old. This girl has a face so innocent it's almost criminal. At first glance, she looks exactly like a naive college student who hasn't experienced the real world. But only I know how delightfully toxic her mouth can be. Most importantly, Jongyu's acting skills are at a level that would make C-list TV actors call her their master. Tell her to cry, and the tears fall instantly. Tell her to kneel, and she's clinging to your leg. Working together, we are truly the ultimate duo bringing enlightenment to humanity. On a Monday morning, my office welcomed a female client. Her name was Song Chu, the owner of a handmade pottery workshop. Song Chu wore expensive clothes and had striking features, but the dark bags under her eyes made her look like she had just pulled a 3-day movie marathon. As soon as she sat down, she slammed her handbag onto the table, gritted her teeth, and started dumping her emotional garbage. Here is the gist of it. Song Chu's pottery workshop recently hired a part-time temp named Bai Lu. Just hearing the name Bai Lu, White Dew, already gives off the scent of pure, innocent morning mist, doesn't it? Exactly. Bai Lu's entire aesthetic was the gold standard of a little white flower, shoulder-length hair, always wearing white dresses, yes, making pottery in a white dress. Damn it, just hearing that made my brain hurt. And her voice was always a soft, breathy whisper, like a whining mosquito. The worst part was that this Bai Lu was incredibly clumsy. She'd trip while carrying clay, ruin the pottery she was molding, and burn the pieces she baked. But strangely enough, every time she caused a disaster, as long as Chen Hao, Song Chu's boyfriend, was at the workshop, she would immediately deploy her signature move. Bai Lu would tear up, her eyes turning red, and she would conveniently smear a small streak of mud on her perfectly pale cheek to max out her pitifulness stats. Then she would sob. I'm so stupid. I just wanted to help Sister Song Chu. Please don't be mad, I'll just use this month's salary to pay for it, okay? Mind you, her temp salary was less than 2,000 yuan, and the cheapest pottery vase she had just smashed was worth at least 5,000. Yet Qin Hao, a boyfriend suffering from terminal stage hero saving the beauty syndrome, would immediately feel his heartache. He would step in to shield Bai Lu, look at Song Chu with extreme disappointment, and start preaching. She's just a fresh graduate, what's wrong with being a little clumsy? You're the boss, why are you being so petty and harsh with a little girl? I'll take care of it. So, Song Chu ended up losing money, swallowing her anger, and being glared at by the male customers in the shop who treated her like the wicked stepmother bullying Cinderella. Tell me, what am I supposed to do now? Song Chu scratched her head in frustration. I want to fire her, but Qin Hao said if I do that, I'm cold-blooded and heartless. Shit. Is my money not real money? I took a sip of tea, pushed up my glasses, and smirked. This disease can be cured. Cured right at the root. I tapped my fingers on the table. When the treatment is done, not only will you not lose a single dime, but your eyes will be open to the true personality of your brain-dead boyfriend. I outlined the pricing. Standard package, exposing the green tea 5,000 yuan. Mental anguish and amp, acting fee, an additional 5,000 yuan upon smooth resolution. Swipe your card if you agree. Song Chu didn't say a second word, she immediately pulled out her phone to pay. The ding-ding sound of money hitting my account was music to my ears. Jongyu, I snapped my fingers. Get dressed. We're going monster hunting. At 3 p.m. the next day, at Song Chu's handmade pottery workshop, I appeared in the skin of an eccentric art collector. I wore massive oversized sunglasses that covered half my face, a silk scarf wrapped tightly around me, and on my hand, I sported 3 wholesale jade rings bought online for 10 yuan a pop. Following closely behind me was Jongyu, dressed in a sharp black suit and carrying a briefcase, looking extremely professional. As soon as I walked into the workshop, I locked onto the target. Bai Lu was, unsurprisingly, wearing a white dress, holding a cleaning rag, but her eyes kept darting toward the door. In the corner of the workshop, Qin Hao was scrolling on his phone, occasionally looking up to offer a gentle smile to the clumsy little sister. Following our pre-rehearsed script, Song Chu ran out to greet me, bowing obsequiously. I purposefully lifted my chin, cleared my throat, and spoke loudly enough for the whole room to hear. The design I gave you, is it finished? I'll repeat myself, this is my most prized work of art. If there is even a single scratch on it, you will compensate me 10 times the amount, strictly according to the contract. Song Chu nodded frantically and carefully brought out a breathtakingly exquisite clay statue from the kiln room, placing it right on the edge of the central work table. I stepped closer, tapped the table with my fake jade-ringed finger, and acted incredibly satisfied. Right at that moment, Qin Hao put his phone away and stood up, walking toward Song Chu to invite her out for afternoon tea. The opportunity had arrived. Bai Lu's eyes flashed. She realized this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to play the fragile, weak damsel in front of her hero. Holding a tray of tools, Bai Lu took light, fairy-like steps toward the center table. 1 step, 2 steps. Her eyes were locked dead onto Qin Hao. And then, as if on cue, the toe of her shoe accidentally caught the table leg. Ah! Bai Lu let out a dramatic shriek, though she perfectly maintained her sweet, melodic pitch. Her entire body lunged forward. The tray flew from her hands and crashed with pinpoint accuracy into the exquisite clay statue resting on the edge of the table. Crash! The artwork hit the tile floor, shattering into a million pieces. Clay dust clouded the air. Bai Lu stumbled and collapsed to her knees. 2 seconds later, her eyes were flushed red. She looked up with her tiny, tear-soaked face straight at Qin Hao, launching into her classic monologue. Qin Hao, please speak up for me. I'm so careless, I'm so stupid, I can't even walk properly. Sister Song Chu is definitely going to hate me to death. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can I just pay for it with this month's salary? Seeing the beauty in tears, the hero's blood in Qin Hao's veins boiled straight to his brain. He took long strides forward, helped Bai Lu up, and shot Song Chu a furious glare. See what you did? It's because you carelessly left things around. Who wouldn't trip walking through here? Look, she's already crying from fear. You're the boss, can't you even comfort your employee? She broke it, but I'll pay for it. It's just a pile of dirt, what's the big deal? I'll compensate you on her behalf. Qin Hao thumped his chest heroically. He took the bait. Zhang Yu and I exchanged a glance, my mouth twitching as I held back my laughter so hard my stomach hurt. But on the outside, I instantly activated my acting mode. I ripped off my sunglasses, threw them to the ground, clutched my head with both hands, and let out a blood-curdling scream, "Ah!" My scream was so tragic that Qin Hao jumped out of his skin, instinctively dropping the arm he was using to support Bai Lu. I threw all logic out the window. Designer clothes? Eccentric artist image? Trashed them all. I dropped heavily to the tiled floor, completely ignoring the dirt, lunged at the shattered pieces of the statue, and started howling. Oh my God! My artwork! My spiritual child! The sole artistic inspiration of my entire life. It's broken. It's dead. I wailed while thumping my chest, snot and tears running down my face. You people murdered art. Damn it, this is what total destruction looks like. Jongyu coordinated with me flawlessly. She rushed over, dropping to her knees beside me. With one hand, she rubbed my back, with the other, she pointed furiously right at Chin Hao and Bai Lu's faces, her voice trembling with righteous indignation. You people are going too far. This is a masterpiece that my boss stayed up 30 nights to conceptualize. It is one of a kind. You must pay for art with your lives. Chin Hao was completely terrified by my unhinged aura. He awkwardly took a step back, gulping hard. Hey, miss, please calm down. I already said I'd pay for it. How much? I'll transfer it right now. Waiting for exactly those words, I instantly stopped crying, sucking all my tears back in within a tenth of a second. I stood straight up, casually brushed the dust off my knees, pulled a heavily stamped contract out of my bag, and slammed it directly onto the table. I pushed up the frame of my glasses, my voice now piercing and ice-cold. You're paying, right? Very manly, very heroic. I respect that. I tapped my finger sharply on the piece of paper. This artwork cost 20,000 yuan to produce. According to the signed compensation clause, if damaged, it must be compensated at 10 times the value, totaling 200,000 yuan. 200,000? Chen Hao's pupils dilated to the max, his voice cracking completely. To a lowly employee like him, 200,000 yuan was like a bolt from the blue. Yes, 200,000 yuan. I sneered, lifting my chin. Jongyu, pull up the payment code for this macho man to transfer the funds. Pay up right here, right now. Otherwise, I will immediately call the police to arrest both you dogmen and women for intentional destruction of property. Let's see how you live your lives with a criminal record. Jongyu obediently shoved a giant QR code on her phone right into Chen Hao's face, shouting loudly. Please pay. Cash, bank transfer, or credit card are all accepted. Chen Hao's face turned ashen, his breathing grew heavy, and sweat poured down his forehead like a waterfall. 200,000? Even if he sold his own life, he couldn't scrape together that much money. The so-called macho aura and the hero saving the beauty fantasy instantly crumbled under the crushing weight of cold, hard cash. Bai Lu was also in utter panic. She clung tightly to Chen Hao's arm, tears streaming down her face, but this time it wasn't acting, it was genuine terror. Chen Hao, please help me, I don't have the money. Chen Hao flinched as if bitten by a snake. He forcefully shoved Bai Lu's hand away, using so much strength that she stumbled and fell flat on the ground. Why you, don't touch me. Chen Hao's voice trembled. He kept backing up, his eyes darting shiftily from me to Song Chu. I was just joking. Hee hee. Everyone is responsible for their own things. Whoever broke it, pays for it, right? Oh, didn't you just thump your chest earlier and say you'd take care of it? I crossed my arms, raising a provocative eyebrow. A man must keep his word, bro. It has nothing to do with me. Chen Hao screamed, his usual righteous facade completely collapsing. He reached into his pocket, frantically pulled out his phone, pressed it tightly to his ear, and put on an act so fake even a 3-year-old could see through it. Hello, boss? Yes. An emergency at the company requires overtime? I have to come back right now? Yes, I'm on my way. As he spoke, he kept his head down and bolted out the door of the pottery workshop for dear life. His escape speed was so fast that even a track and field athlete would call him master. He disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving behind a wave of mocking laughter from all the customers in the shop. What standard scum! With just one contract, the cowardly, irresponsible true face of this trashy man was exposed to the light of day. Now, only Bai Lu was left sitting on the floor in the workshop. The image of the fragile, weak little sister had vanished. Seeing her only protector flee, Bai Lu sobbed uncontrollably, crying so hard her cheap foundation washed away, leaving her looking like a messy clown. Sister Song Chu, I really don't have any money. Bai Lu crawled over, intending to hug Song Chu's leg. Song Chu coldly stepped back, standing with her arms crossed, her eyes showing immense satisfaction. Are you done for yet, girl? I stepped forward, tapping my toe rhythmically on the floor, and looked down directly into Bai Lu's face. You don't have money? Then pick up your phone and call your parents, your friends, and every relative in your family tree to borrow it. 200,000, I'm giving you exactly 1 hour. 1 minute late, and I'll take this security footage straight to the police station. Choose, cough up the money, or go to jail. Bai Lu trembled. Without the protection of brain-dead men, a green tea losing her natural habitat was just a pathetic coward afraid of the law. Trembling, she pulled out her phone and began dialing numbers, begging to borrow money from everywhere through her tears. An hour later, Song Chu's phone chimed ding-ding, confirming the receipt of 200,000 yuan. Bai Lu had to max out 3 credit cards and take out high-interest loans just to gather that amount. After transferring the money, she grabbed her bag and fled the workshop like her life depended on it, not daring to look back. Once Bai Lu was completely out of sight, I slowly took off my silk headscarf and stretched with a loud yawn. I tilted my chin toward Song Chu. See? To deal with these brain-dead white lotuses, you just need to threaten their economic interests. Song Chu looked at the money in her account, then recalled the sight of Chen Hao running away, and suddenly burst out laughing. So my years of love weren't even worth 200,000 yuan in his eyes. She pulled out her phone and acted with extreme decisiveness, blocked the number, deleted the contact, and kicked the scumbag out of her life. You're mistaken, I patted Song Chu's shoulder, smiling as I received my commission and acting fee. That 200,000 is just your tuition fee for graduating from the course of seeing through a scumbag's true nature. I flipped through the stack of cash in my hand. The sweet smell of money awakened every excited cell in my body. Thank you for using the services of the Relationship Appraisal Office. If you ever run into an even messier scumbag, remember to recommend me. 10% discount for returning customers. I winked, leading Zhongyu as we leisurely strolled out of the workshop. The first mission was a flawless success. Life is short, I advise girls to stop fantasizing about fairy tale romances. With cash firmly in hand, you could even buy a scumbag to make him a eunuch sweeping your floors, so why fear a few theatrical green teas? Many people have a huge misconception that green tea is a noun exclusively reserved for women. Not at all, my friends. In this era of gender equality, shamelessness has also reached a state of ecological balance. When men decide to pour the tea, their toxicity and nausea-inducing levels far exceed those of the dainty little sisters by tenfold. The internet community calls this breed the male green tea. On Wednesday morning, while Zhongyu and I were munching on sunflower seeds in the office, a female client pushed the door open. Her name was Xia Ying, 24 years old, an ordinary office worker. Her face was ashen. As soon as she sat down, Xia Ying slammed her phone onto the table, her voice trembling with anger. Boss Chu, I'm going crazy. Please help me clean up this piece of trash. I'll pay whatever it costs. I pushed the plate of sunflower seeds aside, elegantly picked up her phone, and scrolled through it. Inside were endless screenshots of messages between Lin Feng, Xia Ying's boyfriend, and a guy named Jiang Chuan. Jiang Chuan was Lin Feng's ride-or-die bro. Xia Ying explained that ever since she and Lin Feng started dating, Jiang Chuan's shadow never left them alone. The movie dates, if they went to the movies, Jiang Chuan would call crying about being bored. So Lin Feng would drag him along. The three of them would watch a romantic movie while Jiang Chuan loudly crunched popcorn right in the middle. The shopping trips, if they went shopping, Jiang Chuan would trail along, blatantly demanding Lin Feng buy them matching jackets because brothers wearing matching clothes have more swagger. But the absolute peak of his bastardry lay in the messages I was reading right now. Last night, to celebrate their 1-year anniversary, Xia Ying painstakingly prepared a highly romantic candlelit dinner. Just as the food was served, Lin Feng received a call from Jiang Chuan. He wailed over the phone, claiming he was drunk, had been bullied, and had no one to pick him up. So Lin Feng, the straight man overflowing with martial arts brotherhood spirit, threw down his fork, abandoned his girlfriend at home, and rushed out into the dead of night to rescue his bro. Furious, Xia called him, leading to an earth-shattering argument. And here is the verbatim message Jiang Chuan sent to Lin Feng afterward, so you can all admire the art of top-tier green tea pouring. Brother Feng, is sister-in-law mad again? It's all my fault, why did I call you out? My alcohol tolerance is low, and I just act out. You better hurry back and coax her. Your relationship is more important. I'm already used to sitting alone in the cold wind gnawing on steamed buns anyway. Who told me to be so useless? In this world, you're the only brother who treats me well. Reading up to this line, Zhongyu, who was pouring water nearby, couldn't hold back and started dry heaving. Damn it, Zhongyu swore. People actually drink this spoiled, fermented green tea? Is your boyfriend's brain waterlogged? Xia Ying teared up. After reading the text, he turned around and scolded me for being narrow-minded, unreasonable, and not understanding their brotherhood. He said Jiang Chuan is very pitiful, has no family, and only relies on him. Now the two of them are giving me the cold shoulder. I rubbed my chin and clicked my tongue. Male green teas are far more terrifying than female green teas because they use the cloak of life and death brotherhood to cover up their sick clinginess. Clueless straight men always have their guard up against women playing tricks, but they have absolutely zero immunity against guys calling them bro. Boss, how do we handle this case? Should I call a few gangsters to beat that Jiang Chuan half to death? Zhongyu rolled up her sleeves, looking aggressively violent. Using violence is a low-tier strategy, in a society governed by law, who goes around beating people up. I shook my index finger. To deal with the type who uses the name of brotherhood to get in other people's way, we just need to use magic to defeat magic. We'll elevate their brotherhood to a whole new level, so high that this boyfriend will get acid reflux just looking at him. That's all. I turned to Xia Ying and handed her the 8,000 yuan price list. I guarantee that after tonight, wherever your boyfriend sees Jiang Chuan's face, he will run 3 kilometers in the opposite direction. Swipe your card, then text them to meet for dinner at the night market tonight. At 7 p.m., the food street was bustling and noisy. We were at Fatty Uncle's spicy crawfish stall, the most famous in the area. Smoke billowed thickly, and the pungent smell of spicy satay hit the nose. The customers in the shop were mostly groups of tattooed young men, shirtless, drinking beer, their loud voices shaking the tables and chairs. This was the perfect stage I had painstakingly selected. Zhongyu and I arrived early, claimed a table right in the center, ordered a platter of crawfish, and buried our heads in eating while keeping our eyes glued to the entrance. About 15 minutes later, Xia Ying appeared. Beside her was Lin Feng, a tall, decent-looking young man, but one glance and you could tell he was the type to be easily led by the nose. And sticking right beside Lin Feng, clinging to him like a leech, was the male green tea himself, Jiang Chuan. The three of them sat down at the table right next to Zhongyu and me. As soon as he sat down, Jiang Chuan started his performance. He grabbed a wet wipe, wiped Lin Feng's chopsticks and bowl first, then wiped his own, completely ignoring Xia Ying, who was sitting opposite them. Brother Feng, your stomach hasn't been good lately, don't eat too spicy, Jiang Chuan blinked, intentionally dragging out the last syllable, sounding so whiny and coquettish it gave me goosebumps. Later, I'll tell the boss to make a separate portion with less chili just for you. Lin Feng scratched his head and chuckled naively, it's fine, Ying likes spicy food today, let's indulge her a bit. Hearing that, Jiang Chuan glanced at Xia Ying, his eyes instantly turning red. Sister-in-law, I'm sorry about last night, it's all because of my poor alcohol tolerance causing trouble for Brother Feng. Please don't argue with him because of me, he is really good to you. If your relationship gets damaged, I'd rather be dead. Shit. The standard template from the green tea textbook flowed out smoothly without a single stumble. Xia kept a cold face, not bothering to reply. Seeing this, Lin Feng quickly frowned, patted Jiang Chuan's shoulder to comfort him, then turned to blame his girlfriend. Look, he already admitted his mistake, why are you still giving him attitude? The giant plate of spicy crawfish was brought out. Jiang Chuan reached out to grab one, but as soon as he touched the shell, he pulled his hand back, letting out a soft cry. What's wrong? Lin Feng asked anxiously. My hand got a tiny scratch yesterday, the spicy shell stings too much. Jiang Chuan held out his index finger, which had a tiny band-aid on it. He blinked at Lin Feng with full expectation. In the past, whenever we ate crawfish, you always peeled them for me. Today, with sister-in-law here, I don't dare trouble you anymore. It's okay, just watching you two eat makes me full. After speaking, he lowered his head, acting incredibly aggrieved and understanding. Lin Feng, that stupid straight man, immediately softened. He rolled up his sleeves and smacked his lips. What's there not to dare? Wait a sec, I'll peel a few for you. Saying that, he casually picked up a crawfish, peeled it, and dropped the meat into Jiang Chuan's bowl, completely ignoring his girlfriend sitting opposite him, glaring daggers and about to explode. The time was ripe. I threw my gloves onto the table, took a deep breath, channeled 100% of my internal energy into my vocal cords, slammed the table with a loud bang, and stood right up. My eyes were wide and shining bright. I grabbed 2 glasses of beer and marched aggressively straight to their table. Oh my God! I wailed, a soul-shaking cry. My voice was so loud it drowned out the clinking glasses of the tattooed guys at the neighboring tables. Lin Feng jumped, dropping the half-peeled crawfish. Jiang Chuan looked up in bewilderment. I squeezed out 2 fake tears, staring at Jiang Chuan and Lin Feng with an extremely moved expression. I've been watching you two this whole time and I just couldn't hold back my emotions. It's too great, too touching. Your love has transcended all worldly prejudices. What are you talking about? Lin Feng was dumbfounded. Zhang, you didn't miss a beat. She instantly whipped out her phone, turned on the video recorder, held it high, and pointed it right at Lin Feng and Jiang Chuan's faces, her voice echoing loudly across the restaurant. Everyone, look. What straight man acts all coquettish asking his best bro to peel crawfish for him? Who gets jealous and throws tantrums at his bro's girlfriend? And demanding to be picked up in the middle of the night, that's clearly a secret crush. The forbidden male love they've nurtured for so many years has finally blossomed today. The entire restaurant suddenly fell dead silent. The shirtless tattooed guys holding their beer glasses all stopped, turning their heads to stare at Lin Feng's table with extremely excited eyes. I spun around to Xia, tightly grabbing her hand, my voice sniffling. Girl, you are truly the greatest smokescreen of the century. You sacrificed your youth, pretending to be a girlfriend to help them hide their true identities. This society needs tolerant people like you. Xia, following the script perfectly, covered her face, pretended to sob, and nodded. No, that's not it. Are you crazy? I'm straight. Lin Feng shot up, his face flushing red with embarrassment and anger. Jiang Chuan is my brother, we are bros. Brothers? What kind of bros ache for each other over a tiny scratch on the hand? What kind of bros look at each other with such deep, affectionate eyes? I didn't give him a chance to explain. Just then, an old lady carrying a basket of roses walked by. I waved a 100 yuan bill, pulled out an entire bouquet of bright red roses, and shoved them forcefully into Jiang Chuan's chest. Today, I am forcing you to admit your true orientation. I pointed at Jiang Chuan, yelling with overwhelming momentum. Be brave, young man. Give flowers to the man of your life. If you love him, you must say it. Aren't you tired of clinging to each other under the guise of brotherhood for your whole life? The surrounding crowd began to get riled up. The tipsy tattooed uncles, who already loved a good spectacle, joined in, banging the tables and shouting. Yeah, give him the flowers, kid. What's there to hide if two guys love each other? Be brave. Kiss. 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 The chants echoed through the restaurant, creating a terrifying wave of peer pressure that would crush anyone's sanity. Jiang Chuan turned pale, trembling uncontrollably as he held the bouquet of roses, stuttering speechlessly. Brother Feng, I didn't, this crazy woman is slandering me. But Lin Feng at this moment was completely petrified. He looked at Jiang Chuan holding the roses, then listened to the crowd's cheers for same-sex love. In his head, all those memories suddenly played back in slow motion with terrifying clarity, the whiny, sulky text messages. The late-night calls demanding to be picked up. The resentful glares whenever he went out with Xia Ying. And the coquettish act demanding peeled crawfish just now. To a traditional straight man, there was nothing more horrifying than being romantically targeted by another man. I decided to land another blow, extinguishing Jiang Chuan's last hope of survival. I smiled mysteriously, leaning close to Lin Feng's ear, speaking just loud enough for him and Jiang Chuan to hear. Don't fear public opinion, Lin Feng. I secretly called Auntie Wang, your mother, earlier. She's in a taxi on her way here right now to witness the moment her son bravely admits his sexual orientation. She said she'd rather have a male daughter-in-law than see her son sneaking around, suffering, and deceiving another family's daughter. My mother? Lin Feng let out a horrified howl. His pupils shrank. Thinking of the prospect of his mother suddenly appearing at the drinking stall to bless him and Jiang Chuan, Lin Feng's stomach churned violently, and goosebumps erupted all over his body in massive chunks. He looked at Jiang Chuan as if looking at a monster soaked in a cesspool, a feeling of absolute disgust rising up and choking his throat. Brother, listen to me explain. Jiang Chuan reached out, trying to grab Lin Feng's shirt. Get lost. Stay away from me. Lin Feng screamed at the top of his lungs. He swung his arm, violently smacking the bouquet of roses away, and conveniently swatted the half-peeled crawfish onto the ground. He frantically wiped his hands on his pants as if he had just touched a contagious pathogen. Fuck, you're disgusting, Jiang Chuan. Stop clinging to me. Scram. Having said that, disregarding all face and completely forgetting his girlfriend, Lin Feng turned around and bolted like a dog with its tail between its legs, running desperately out of the restaurant. His terrifying speed made it seem like a demon was chasing him. He dashed onto the main road, wildly hailed a taxi, dove inside, and vanished. Only Jiang Chuan was left rooted to the spot. Around him, dozens of pairs of eyes from the tattooed men were still staring, bursting into mocking laughter. Oh look, your lover ran away, kid. A pot-bellied uncle laughed heartily. Jiang Chuan suffered a humiliating defeat. His mask of a good brother had been completely ripped off in broad daylight. Without the idiot Lin Feng here, who was he supposed to act for? Jiang Chuan lowered his head, picked up his bag, covered his face, and quickly slinked away into the darkness. Xia Ying stood with her arms crossed, watching the backs of the two men, and let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, the malignant tumor that had been attached to her life for so long was completely removed. I clapped my hands to dust them off, returned to my table, raised my beer glass, and downed it in one refreshing gulp. Zheng Yu put her phone away, tossed the napkin she used to wipe her mouth, and snickered. Boss, that move of yours was genuinely ruthless. That Lin Feng guy is definitely going to have lifelong psychological trauma. Wherever he sees Jiang Chuan, he'll run 3 kilometers away. Of course, I smirked, peeling a crawfish with my bare hands, dipping it heavily in the spicy satay sauce, and popping it into my mouth. A male green tea is like a leech sucking the blood of others under the guise of brotherhood. If you want to remove a leech, don't use your hands to pull it, just sprinkle salt directly on its nose, and it'll fall off on its own. Xia Ying walked over to our table, unable to hide the admiration on her face. She immediately transferred the remaining balance, not forgetting to clasp her hands in respect. I prostrate myself in admiration, boss. This money was very well spent. Tomorrow, I will dump that spineless Lin Feng, and consider myself having escaped a disaster in this lifetime. Smart girl. I gave her a thumbs up. There are as many men in this world as autumn leaves falling. If it's trash, boldly throw it in the bin. Have a safe trip. Watching Xia Ying's light steps as she walked away, I smiled and rubbed my full stomach. Whether male or female, a green tea is just someone who uses hypocrisy to manipulate the emotions of the weak-willed. Facing someone with a thicker skin, a more hooligan-like mindset, and a more perfect script, like me, their tears and whining are just expensive drinking snacks. In this world, there is a terrifying creature known as the relative green tea. They possess an ultimate weapon called blood ties, coupled with the technique of moral kidnapping in front of the elders. They automatically assume that just because you earn money and live comfortably, you naturally owe them. You are obligated to distribute your wealth to them. If you refuse, you are cold-blooded, selfish, and ungrateful. The pinnacle of this rotten ideology is none other than my cousin, Shu Man. Over the weekend, my extended family held an ancestral worship ceremony at the rural ancestral hall. As a descendant, even though my heart was filled with thousands of disgusts for the nosy interrogations, I still had to drag myself back. Of course, accompanying me as always was my capable assistant, Zhong Yu, attending under the guise of a close friend. That day, the ancestral hall was filled with thick incense smoke. The uncles and aunts sat around the banquet tables, their mouths cracking sunflower seeds while their eyes scanned like security radars to evaluate whose family bought a new car this year and which kid sent more money to their parents. I chose the most secluded corner, sitting quietly gnawing on a piece of chicken, minimizing my existence as much as possible. But the tree desires stillness, yet the wind will not cease. Shu Man appeared. She wore a soft, beige silk dress that accentuated her delicate and refined appearance. However, if you had a sharp eye, you'd recognize that this dress was the latest design from a famous fashion house, worth no less than 8,000 yuan. Not to mention the limited edition designer handbag on her arm, which reeked of money. Carrying her 1-month-old son, Shu Man walked around greeting the elders. When she reached my spot, she suddenly stopped. The corners of her eyes turned red at a speed worthy of the Guinness Book of Records. Tears just cascaded down. Holding her baby, she took 2 steps forward, suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me, and sobbed. "Cousin, please help me." The noisy ancestral hall instantly fell dead silent. Dozens of eyes from the elders shot toward me like darts. I put down my half-eaten piece of chicken and sighed inwardly. Here we go again, the emotional blackmail script begins. "Cousin," Shu Man's eyes were brimming with tears, her voice choked. "I know you opened an office now, earn a lot of money, and live freely in the big city. As for me, I married a poor man, live with a harsh mother-in-law, and am despised by my husband's family because of my lowly background. This baby was born at a disadvantage. His 1-month celebration is coming up, and my husband's family said I don't have any decent jewelry to wear to save face." She dabbed at her tears as she spoke, looking so pitiful that even a stone would weep. "I heard that before Auntie passed away, she left you a set of gold jewelry as your dowry. Cousin, you aren't married yet, keeping that gold gathering dust in the safe is a waste. Can you let me borrow it to wear for the baby's 1-month party so I don't feel so aggrieved in front of my in-laws? I promise I'll take good care of it." Shit. That gold jewelry set was the only keepsake my mother left behind. Its material and sentimental value were immeasurable. This girl actually opened her mouth to borrow someone's family heirloom just to show off. And whether she would return it after borrowing it, only God knows. Before I could even open my mouth to refuse, the army of elders began to exert their moral kidnapping powers. Second uncle, sitting at the next table, frowned, picked his teeth with a loud smack, and spoke in a condescending tone. "She is in such a difficult situation, as the older cousin, you should be tolerant. Borrowing it for a few days won't wear your gold down, what are you afraid of?" Third aunt, sitting opposite him, added fuel to the fire. "That's right, sisters shouldn't be so calculating. You earn a lot of money, you can buy plenty of sets later. Shoe man married into suffering. You helping her out a bit is like accumulating merit for our ancestors. An anonymous voice chimed in. Nowadays, young people living in the city are so selfish, they don't know what family ties mean anymore. Hiding a set of gold so tightly, how cold-blooded. Gossip and whispers filled the ancestral hall. They were tag-teaming to back me into a corner. Shoe man was still kneeling on the ground, her head bowed, her shoulders trembling, but I bet my life the corners of her mouth were smirking triumphantly. She thought that under the pressure of all the relatives, my only option was to grit my teeth, nod, and swallow my anger. If I were a normal person who cared about face, I might have yielded. But sorry, I am Chu Dan. Face to me is just a cloud floating in the sky. Money and assets are the only truth. Trying to fight me with the weekend pitiful routine? You picked the wrong target, little girl. I gently nudged Jung Yu's ribs with my elbow. My assistant understood instantly. As quick as lightning, she slipped her hand into her pocket, pulled out a high-quality bottle of eye drops, and accurately squeezed 2 massive drops right into the corners of my eyes. The speed was so fast the naked eye couldn't catch it. The very next second, I activated my acting skills. I took a deep breath, gathered all the strength in my life, and let out a tragic, blood-curdling wail. Oh my God. Why is my life so miserable? My scream hit an eardrum-shattering frequency. Second uncle, who was picking his teeth, startled so hard he bit his tongue. Third aunt dropped her meat onto the floor. The entire ancestral hall fell silent in utter shock. Completely discarding my image, I swept my chopsticks away, bent my knees, and dropped heavily to the tiled floor with a loud thud. I crawled on my knees toward Shoe Man, threw my arms wide open, and hugged her thighs tightly. Shoe Man, who had been secretly gloating, was suddenly locked in my iron grip. She jumped in shock, her eyes wide as saucers, completely clueless as to what was happening. Sister. My good cousin. I wailed loudly, my fake tears mixing with very real snot. I didn't hesitate to wipe that entire concoction of fluids all over the expensive silk on Shoe Man's thighs. I rubbed my face into her dress while crying tragically. I didn't want to say anything to worry the family, but since you knelt down and begged me today, I have to tell the truth. I'm bankrupt, sister. My office collapsed. My business failed, I was scammed by a friend. Now I am drowning in debt. Sister, what are you saying? Shoe Man panicked, trying to push my head away from her expensive dress, but my grip was like a vice. She couldn't budge an inch. I borrowed from loan sharks. I borrowed 500,000 yuan, sister. I looked up at the ceiling, my bloodshot eyes glaring straight at the surrounding elders, whose jaws had dropped to the floor. The gangsters stand in front of my house with machetes every single day. They threatened that if I don't pay enough interest by tomorrow, they will chop off my hands and mince me up for fertilizer. My life is worse than death, sister. The ancestral hall erupted into chaos. The elders who had just been loudly lecturing me about family ties now turned green in the face. I whipped my head back to look at Shoe Man, a crazed glimmer of hope flashing in my eyes. Sister, the gold jewelry auntie left me. I already pawned it at the pawn shop to pay off this month's interest. I don't have it at home to lend you anymore. I gripped her thigh even tighter. But heaven has eyes, letting me meet you here. I know you love me the most. Our sisterhood is a sacred blood bond. No. I don't. Shoe Man turned pale, stammering and backing away, clutching her baby tightly. I didn't give her a chance to deny it, firing off like a machine gun with enough volume for the whole village to hear. Last week I saw you post photos of your whole family vacationing at a luxury resort for 5 days and 4 nights. And that designer bag you're carrying, the market price is at least 40,000 yuan. The other day you were even bragging that your husband made over 100,000 yuan trading stocks. I brutally stripped away her facade of marrying poor and being despised right in front of all the relatives. The whispering elders immediately shifted their gazes, staring pointedly at Shoe Man's silk dress and expensive bag. My good sister, you're so rich, you have to save my life. Blood relatives shouldn't be so calculating. Just lend me 100,000 yuan for now so I can pay off the loan sharks. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda, sister. Shu Man finally realized she had provoked a madwoman. Her fake fragility was completely crushed by my sheer shamelessness. She struggled violently, screaming and completely losing her ladylike demeanor. Let me go. You're crazy. Where would I get 100,000? This bag is fake. The vacation was paid for by my husband's company. I don't have money. Don't lie. Everyone just heard you talking about our deep blood ties. Are you really going to just stand by and watch me get hacked to death by gangsters? Are you that heartless? I wailed louder, slamming both hands on the tiled floor. Thump thump. Right on cue, Jongyu, standing on the sidelines, received my signal and sprang into action. She pulled out her phone, opened an audio file we had painstakingly paid someone to record beforehand, and cranked the volume to max. A gruff, raspy, murderous male voice, full of profanities, echoed out. Shit, Chu Dan, you little bitch, hiding in your hometown? If you don't scrape together 500,000 to pay the boss today, I'm bringing gasoline to burn your family's ancestral hall to the ground. I'll chop you into meat paste for steamed buns, don't even think about running. The cursing and the chilling, realistic clink-clank of metal machetes were terrifying. The explosive effect exceeded all expectations. The entire ancestral hall descended into chaos, like a poked beehive. Not a single person dared to step forward to help me or utter a word of advice. Terrified that gangsters were actually coming to burn down the hall, they just wished they could turn invisible on the spot. Help! They're already here. I acted utterly panicked, rolling my eyes back, and lunged to grab the designer bag from Shu Man's arm. This bag can sell for a few tens of thousands, let me borrow it to pay my debt. And that diamond ring you're wearing, take it off for me, hurry. Saying that, I acted like a starving beast, clawing crazily at the ring on Shu Man's hand. Get away from me. Help, she's crazy. Robbery. Shu Man was scared out of her wits. Clutching her screaming baby with one hand, she used all her strength to yank her bag back with the other, kicking her legs wildly in the air to escape my embrace. Don't take my things. You borrowed from loan sharks, pay it yourself. I have nothing to do with you. Get away. Shu Man screamed, shoved me away with all her might, picked up her skirt, and sprinted out of the ancestral hall's gates for dear life. She tripped over the threshold, lost a high heel, and didn't even bother to turn back to pick it up, just kept her head down and bolted until she vanished. I rolled on the ground, reaching out toward her retreating back, sobbing tragically, "Cousin, how could you abandon me? Where is your deep blood bond?" Around me, the elders also sprang into action. Second uncle coughed dryly, hastily waving his hands and backing away, not daring to look at me. Ah, my house, I just remembered I left a pot of braised fish on the stove, didn't turn off the fire. I have to go back. Handle your debt yourself, I'm old, I won't get involved. Right, third aunt also has to pick up her grandson from school. You reap what you sow. Don't bring thugs here. Third aunt grabbed a bag of leftovers and slipped away as fast as lightning. In less than 5 minutes, the once crowded and noisy ancestral hall was completely empty, not a single soul left. The relatives who were just taking the moral high ground to lecture me about family ties had fled like they were escaping a war zone. Jongyu turned off her phone, walked over, and handed me a few tissues. I stopped crying, instantly retracting all my tears and snot. I slowly stood up, brushed the dust off my knees, took the tissue from Jongyu to wipe my face, looking extremely relaxed. Boss, your acting was peak. I almost thought you really owed the mob. Jongyu gave a thumbs up and snickered. After this, that Shu Man is definitely going to have PTSD. Even if you gave her candy, she wouldn't dare show her face to borrow a single strand of your hair, let alone your gold. Just a minor trick. I looked at the high-heel shoe man left at the threshold and sneered. Wants to steal my family heirloom? Go train your facial muscles for another 10 years, little girl. From now on, I guaranteed the name Chu Dan would be blacklisted from all these family gatherings. No elder would ever dare come near to nag me about money, marriage, or kids again. Exchanging a moment of lost face for half a lifetime of peace and freedom. People often say the business world is a battlefield, but according to my experience appraising countless hidden relationship cases, the business world combined with the battlefield of love is the most ruthless, bloodless graveyard. The absolute limit of shamelessness, the final boss of all scumbags, are those who wear the cloak of a righteous elite, using the name of love to drain the very marrow of the woman beside them. My client this time was Leisha, 40 years old, wearing a tailored suit, his hair slicked back immaculately without a single strand out of place, an expensive watch on his wrist. He threw a thick stack of cash onto my desk, sighed deeply, and began playing the role of a successful but romantically unfortunate man. Leisha explained that he and his fiancée, Tang Tang, co-founded a tech company. Now that the company had gained a foothold and was preparing for an IPO, Tang Tang had developed mental health issues. According to him, she was a money-grubbing, insanely controlling freak who constantly threw baseless jealous tantrums and smashed things. He wanted me to find a way to approach Tang Tang, intentionally provoke her into a frenzy, and secretly record the whole thing on camera. He would then use this video as proof of her insanity, using it as an excuse to break off the engagement and kick her out of the company on the grounds of lacking civil capacity. Boss Chu, I'm out of options. I love her, but I can't let my life's work be destroyed by a madwoman. Leisha squeezed out a sorrowful expression. His acting is even more realistic than my Zhongyu's. I smiled, calmly pulling the stack of cash toward me, smoothing out every bill. Rest assured, President Lee. Take people's money, eliminate their disasters. Leave it to me. Leisha left satisfied. The moment the door closed, Zhongyu spat her chewing gum into the trash can and said with disdain, "Boss, just looking at this guy's face, he reeks of scum. Trying to drive his fiancée crazy before they even get married when everything is fine? There's definitely a hidden agenda." Of course there is. I tossed the cash into the safe. The company is under both their names. If they just break off the engagement normally, the assets still have to be split in half. He wants to brand her as insane to swallow all the shares for himself. Good boys lust for beauty, bad boys lust for money. This guy is both evil and greedy. Being in the appraisal business, I absolutely never listened to just one side of the story. I immediately launched an investigation. It only took 3 days for the filthy truth to be exposed. Tang Tang wasn't crazy at all. The toxic master of psychological manipulation, the ultimate gaslighter, was Leisha. He constantly went out seeking new flings, but whenever Tang Tang found traces, he would twist the truth, blaming her suspicions on work pressure and claiming she was delusional. He had intentionally swapped her health supplements with high-dose sedatives, leaving her constantly lethargic and disoriented. He sweet-talked Tang Tang into signing a power of attorney for operations, then secretly cooked the books, siphoning company profits into personal accounts under his relatives' names. I brought this entire stack of documents and met Tang Tang at a secluded cafe. Tang Tang showed up looking haggard, her eyes swollen, mentally panicked. When she heard me expose Leisha's scheme, she completely broke down, burying her face in her arms on the table and sobbing uncontrollably. I spent my entire youth building this company with him. He said he only loved me. Why would he treat me like this? Tang Tang cried until she couldn't breathe, clutching her chest. I coldly pushed a glass of water toward her, splashing her with a metaphorical bucket of ice water. "Wake up, girl," I said sharply. "Love can be thrown to the dogs, but your blood, sweat, and hard-earned money? Not a single cent goes to a scumbag. Are you going to sit here crying your eyes blind so that tomorrow he can smoothly throw you into a mental asylum, then take your money to keep his mistresses?" Tang Tang looked up. Tears were still streaming down her face, but her eyes showed a flicker of resolve. What should I do? The company is full of his people now. What to do? I smirked, pulling a pre-stamped service contract from my bag. Sign here. As the major shareholder, you have the legal right to hire me as an independent internal auditor. Under your name, we are going to turn that company upside down. Act out a play with me, and I will help you recover your capital and interest. We will strip him so thoroughly clean we won't even leave him his underwear. The following 3 days were a blur of terrifying intensity. Under the guise of internal auditors authorized by the founding shareholder, Jung-Yu and I rightfully marched into the company's finance department. We locked the doors, confiscated all the computers, froze the accounts, and secretly backed up all original vouchers and bank statements before Lijia's crony accountants could destroy the evidence. Just as expected, the books were rotten from the inside out. On Saturday night, the company held its annual gala at a luxurious 5-star hotel. All employees, business partners, and investors were present. Lija stepped up to the podium, wearing a sharp-tailored suit, holding a glass of wine, and forcing a bitter, regretful smile. He cleared his throat, preparing to execute his most ruthless takedown yet. Ladies and gentlemen, this year our company has achieved brilliant success, but my heart is heavy with sorrow. My fiancé and co-founder, Miss Tang, has recently suffered a severe mental breakdown and frequently loses control. To protect the company's interests and ensure she gets the best treatment, it breaks my heart to announce. Bang! The massive doors of the banquet hall were kicked open. Hundreds of pairs of eyes turned in unison. Tang walked in, looking neither haggard nor insane. She wore a crimson women's power suit, her hair styled in an authoritative updo, and her red-painted lips curved into a bone-chilling smile. She took long, steady strides straight toward the stage. Lija was stunned, his face turning pale as he stammered, Tang, you're sick, what are you doing here? Tang didn't bother replying. She lifted her leg and delivered a beautiful, vicious kick, sending the wooden stand on the podium flying several meters away. The deafening crash made the whole hall hold its breath. Right at that moment, Jung-Yu, who was hiding behind the curtain controlling the lighting system, smirked and decisively plugged a memory card into the projector connected behind Lija. The giant screen flashed to life. On it were screenshots of illegal money transfers from the company account to the personal accounts of Lija's relatives. But the absolute masterpiece? Photos of shopping receipts. President Lija, despite his grand title and his cheating, was so incredibly cheap that he bought the exact same designer handbag, which was on a 60% clearance sale, to gift to 3 different mistresses. Under each photo were the texts he used to sweet-talk them. This is a limited edition I specially ordered from abroad just for you, baby. The entire hall erupted. Whispers, mocking laughter, and pointing fingers filled the room. The business partners shook their heads in dismay. Their looks toward Lija instantly went from respectful to disgusted and contemptuous. A man who embezzles, cheats, and is this cheap? Who would dare do business with him? Lija was in utter panic, sweating profusely. He lunged to unplug the projector, screaming, "Turn it off. Who's playing tricks? This is slander." Slander? I leisurely walked up from the audience, holding a megaphone. I brought it to my lips, flipped the switch, and my crisp voice easily crushed all the noise in the hall. Hello, President Lee. A generous boss who buys 1 clearance bag for 3 mistresses, it really opens one's eyes. Your files of embezzling corporate assets, forging documents, and tax evasion have been neatly packaged, color-printed in high definition with ironclad evidence, black and white, stamped and confirmed by the bank. Lija stumbled backward, pointing a trembling finger at me. Why you? Chu Dan, you took my money. How dare you betray a client? I took your money to appraise hidden relationship illnesses. And the appraisal results show that Miss Tang is perfectly healthy, while you are the terminal cancer cell that needs to be excised. I pulled a pre-drafted share transfer agreement from my bag and slammed it onto the table in front of him. Now, you have two choices. 1. Immediately sign over all your shares and legal operational rights back to Miss Tang to compensate for the money you embezzled. 2. In 15 minutes, these files will be on the desk of the investigative authorities. You should be well aware of the penalty for embezzling corporate assets. When you go in to do time, remember to bring a few clearance bags to gift your cellmates. Tang Tang stood beside me, arms crossed. The look in her eyes as she stared at the man she once loved so deeply was now filled with nothing but absolute disdain. Sign it, Lija. You have no way out. Under the crushing pressure of hundreds of contemptuous stares and irrefutable evidence, Lija's righteous mask shattered completely. The middle-aged man collapsed into the chair, his hand shaking violently as he took the pen and signed his name on the transfer agreement. The signature was crooked and desperate, just like his future. The next day, Lija officially packed up and left the company empty-handed, taking with him a rotten reputation that spread throughout the business world. No company would dare hire a man who embezzled his fiancée's money and bought discount bags for mistresses. The scumbag must pay the price. That is an inevitable law of nature. That night, to celebrate our brilliant success, Zhang Yu and I went to our favorite barbecue joint. The grill sizzled with smoke, and the juicy, fatty ribs gave off an incredibly mouth-watering aroma. I popped open a cold beer, taking a refreshing chug, feeling all the exhaustion wash down into my stomach. Tang Tang had paid me a commission so generous that just looking at the zeros on the screen was enough to make one dizzy. Zhang Yu flipped a piece of meat on the grill, the fat popping loudly. She placed a piece in my bowl, blinked, and asked, "Boss, I've been wondering. Doing this job, dealing with scum every day, exposing so many ugly truths, seeing people who promised the moon and stars cheat each other into bankruptcy. Aren't you afraid of falling in love? Aren't you afraid that one day you'll meet a guy like Lija?" I paused for a beat, looking at my naive assistant, then at the thick stack of cash sitting in the handbag beside me. "Only fools fear love, Zhang Yu," I said. "Smart people don't fear love, they only fear not holding the upper hand." I popped the rib into my mouth. In this world, ghosts and demons are scary, but the human heart is scarier. Men might betray you, make vows and then go back on their word, but the money in your wallet will never lie to you. It always holds its exact value. I raised my beer can and clinked it hard against Zhang Yu's. As long as you keep a clear head, hold the law firmly in your hands, and your bank account keeps growing, what the hell is there to be afraid of? If you're sad, fly to Paris to shop. If you're bored, hire 10 handsome guys with six-packs to fan you. Worst case scenario, if you accidentally pick up a scumbag, just buy him and turn him into a eunuch to sweep the floor and wash dishes for you for the rest of your life. What is there to fear? Hearing this, Zhang Yu's eyes lit up, and she nodded profusely. "Boss, you make total sense. You are the lighthouse of my life. To money. To freedom. Cheers. Cheers. To a world wiped clean of green teas and scum." The night breeze blew by coolly. Our laughter mingled with the sizzling of the barbecue grill. Tomorrow, the relationship appraisal office would open its doors once again. Life is long, and there is still plenty of trash to take out. The end.